At about 3:49 p.m. this afternoon, we received multiple 911 calls of an active shooter at 5 Oaks Mall. When officers arrived, we found two deceased persons. One we believe to be the shooter. He's an adult male. We found an adult female victim who was deceased, and one adult male victim who was transported to the University of Tennessee Medical Center. I don't know the extent of his injuries at this time. We do not believe that any of the people involved knew each other. From everything that we have so far, and I'll stress that that's so far, it's still preliminary. It appears that this was a random shooting. We don't believe the shooter knew either victim. We do not know his motivation at this point as to why he came here and did this.
Where did the shooting happen? In which store? Was it inside, outside?
It occurred just outside the Coach store. And he walked up and opened fire right outside the store.
So those two victims, the woman and the man, were outside of the Coach store when
That's
he fired
correct.
at them?
That's correct.
And then did he shoot himself, or did deputies,
Yes.
officers shoot
No,
him?
this was self-inflicted.
Where were the other victims shot, if we can
I do not know at this time.
Was he ever in the Coach store, or was he just wandering around?
He was not in the store. He approached them outside the store. I don't know if he was in the store prior to the shooting or where he might have been in the mall itself.
And do you know if he shouted any words, if he said anything to these people before he opened fire when he walked straight up to the Coach store and began shooting?
I don't know this at that time.
Any history with this person, the shooter that is?
With the other people?
Any criminal history that you guys
I do not know.
Can you talk about what kind of weapon he
Sure,
used?
it was a handgun. I do not know the caliber, but it was a semi-automatic handgun.
Did any bullets go elsewhere, or were those the only 3 shots fired?
I don't know if there were only 3 shots or not, and the detectives and investigators are still on scene looking.
Is there surveillance video?
I would assume there probably is some, but again, I don't know what there is, and I don't know if they've retrieved that yet or not.
We're live on the air right now. Can you just reiterate the very beginning of what you said when you began
Sure.
this interview, what happened, what you all showed up to?
Sure. We received multiple 911 calls at about 3:49 p.m. this afternoon of an active shooter just outside the Coach store here at 5 Oaks Mall. When officers responded, we found 3 victims. One who we believe the shooter died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound, and there was one female victim who's deceased and one male victim who was taken to UT Medical Center.
You said you don't believe the public is in any danger, but if this was a random shooting, we're getting many questions as to why the public would not be in any more danger.
Well, we believe that he was the only shooter. Once officers arrived, and of course, when officers got here, we didn't know what we were going to encounter. But talking to witnesses and being in the situation, we discerned pretty quickly that that was a single shooter.
What are the next steps as far as the scene goes? I know the rest of the mall is still active. People are allowed to come and go. There's a restaurant that's open behind us.
Sure. I mean, yeah, as soon as we were able to, and we knew that everything was safe, we allowed people to come in certain areas of the mall. The crime scene area will remain closed as long as we need it to be closed. That could be hours, it could be more than a day. That's just going to be up to the detectives to determine.
Has that area been evacuated?
When the shooting took place, we instructed people in the store to shelter in place.
What was the process you all went through with these stores, with Coach and the other adjacent stores? I've talked to some people who said they barricaded themselves until police came to tell them it was safe.
Yeah, that is what I believe most, if not all, the stores in the area did. That's what we tell them to do. And we didn't want anybody to leave those stores until we actually had an officer go inside and not only tell them it was safe, but also interview everybody in the store.
What's happening as we speak behind you?
I believe that they're putting one of the victims in an ambulance.
Were there a lot of witnesses, a lot of people out in the parking lot when this happened?
I know that there were multiple witnesses. I don't want to hazard a guess as to how many there were. I would say we probably conducted dozens of interviews already. I know there were several witnesses who were able to give us a very good account of what happened, which is also one of the reasons why we felt pretty sure as soon as we got here that the situation was already resolved.
Everything leads you all to believe preliminary that this was a random shooting. Somebody randomly came to the Coach store and opened fire.
That's correct. And again, I don't know why, don't know what this person's motivation was, but everything we have right now, all the information we have, and we have quite a bit of information already, tells us that is likely what happened.
Has the shooter's family been notified?
I'm sure we're in the process of doing that if we haven't already.
Do we know if the shooter's from
this area? Or
I do not know.
What challenges do you guys face responding to a heavily populated place like this when you hear there's a shooter on this area?
It's tough just because of the traffic volume that we have. But I will say this: we were here within minutes of getting the 911 calls, and we feel that possibly one of the reasons that the shooter decided to end it like he did was because he heard the sirens and heard us approaching.
Okay, by the time the officers got here, he had already shot himself.
He had.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm just imagining all these people out and about, going around their business, and then you see 2 dead bodies, another person injured. Have you spoken to those people about maybe some of the post-traumatic stuff that they may have seen and are dealing with now? That's a lot.
And it is a lot, and of course our detectives have talked to a lot of people, and we also have a chaplain, and he was here fairly early on the scene. I know he's talked to several people as well, and we'll be available to do that as long as anybody needs.
Do you know if any children were around that may have unfortunately seen that?
I do not know yet.
Do you know if the victim was with any family members when they were here, or friends shopping, or were they alone?
I believe both the victims were here with at least one other family member.
Do we believe the shooter came to the mall alone?
I can't comment on that at this time.
Okay.
Was the shooter known to you all at all?
I honestly don't know yet. I don't even have his name, so I'm not sure.
The relation between the victims, one more time?
We don't believe there was any relationship whatsoever. We think that they just happened to be outside the store at the same time when the shooter came.
How do you all train for something like this?
I tell you what, we train often and frequently, and the active shooter situation is something you never want to encounter. This is the first one in Sevierville that I can remember, and I've been here almost 30 years. I don't think we've had one during that time. But our officers train annually for this, and we're just fortunate that we had as many officers as we had on duty, and they got here so fast. Because again, I think that it's very possible that's one of the reasons that the shooter decided to shoot himself when he did.
Safe to say this could have been worse?
It absolutely could have been worse. And again, I don't know what his motivation was. I don't know if he, was going to shoot 1 or 2 people and then do what he did, or if his intent was to shoot more. I just don't know. But all we can do in law enforcement is to get here as quick as we can. And in this situation, it was over when we got here.
What all agencies did respond? We see Pigeon Forge Police are here also.
Pigeon Forge Police are here, Sevier County Sheriff's Department is here, Sevierville Police Department is here. And that's something as soon as a call goes out like this, one of the things we do after we get everybody on our agency going is we let the neighboring agencies know, and we ask for their assistance, and we work well with all of them, and I tell you what, you just can't have enough officers come to a situation like this. The more you can get here and the quicker you can get here, the better chance you have of it being resolved before it can be really bad.
Do you have an approximate age on any of the victims? Were they in their early 20s?
I don't.
I think I'm good. Is there anything else that you want to add just to the public to let our viewers know before we wrap up?
No, we're good.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.